Auntie, I really love you.
You are just like my daughter.
I never expected a simple lunch break to make me question everything about my life. I'd been running through deadlines, meetings and phone calls all morning, and honestly, I was exhausted. My penthouse office felt cold. Despite the sunlight spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows, that's when I heard it, the soft, happy giggles coming from the kitchen. My heart skipped a beat. Those were Emma's giggles, my little girl, my blind daughter, my reason for everything I did. Normally, I'd rush to her room at moments like this, but something about the sound stopped me in my tracks. There was another voice too, a gentle, soothing voice I had heard 1,000 times, but never truly listened to. Clara, our maid and caretaker. At first, I thought nothing of it. Clara had been with us for over 2 years, quiet, polite, and diligent. She cooked, cleaned, and looked after Emma when I was stuck at the office. But as I leaned against the doorway, watching, I realized this wasn't just care. It was connection. Clara was feeding Emma lunch, not just giving her food, but guiding her hands, talking softly, encouraging her with words that seemed to float through the room. "Careful, sweetie. Here comes a little bite," Clara whispered. Emma's tiny hands reached out for the spoon. More," she giggled. I froze. Something about the way Clara spoke made the words sink deep into me. Her tone wasn't patronizing or obligatory. It was full of warmth, respect, and an understanding I had always thought was my job alone. Then I heard it, the words that would change everything. "You're stronger than you think. Emma, don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do something just because you can't see. You're smart, kind, and brave, and Daddy will always be proud of you." I felt my chest tighten. My own words? I had never spoken to Emma like that. I had given her everything she needed materially, yes, but emotional guidance, encouragement. I was failing, and here was Clara, saying exactly what my daughter needed to hear. Emma's face lit up. "I love you, Clara," she said softly. "I love you too, sweet girl," Clara replied, brushing a strand of hair from Emma's face. My throat went dry. I had walked in thinking I was coming home to check on my daughter, maybe spend a few minutes before heading back to work. But instead, I was confronted with a truth I hadn't faced before. My daughter was receiving the emotional nurturing I'd been too busy to give. I cleared my throat. Both of them looked up. Emma's smile instantly grew wider, her joy infectious. "Daddy," she squealed, reaching for my hands. I forced a smile. "Hey, pumpkin, did you have lunch?" "Yes, Clara fed me," she said proudly. "And she said I'm strong." Clara's gaze met mine, quiet, almost shy. "She is strong, sir, and brave too. You've done well, but sometimes even the strongest need a little guidance." Her words hit me harder than I expected. All my wealth, my company, my success, it didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was that my daughter felt seen, heard, and loved. And someone I had always thought of as just the maid was giving her exactly that. I crouched to Emma's level, taking her small hands. "You know, Clara's right," I said softly. "You are strong, stronger than anyone I know. And I promise I'll be there every step of the way." Emma beamed and leaned into me, trusting me completely. And Clara, she just watched, her expression calm, but her eyes full of something I couldn't quite name. Pride, respect, maybe quiet satisfaction. It wasn't just the words she had spoken. It was the way she had spoken them. Every syllable carried care and love that wasn't required of her, and it humbled me. My daughter had been learning courage and confidence not from me, but from her. I felt a lump in my throat. "Thank you, Clara," I said quietly. "For everything." She nodded, simple, steady. "It's nothing, sir. She's special, and you're lucky to have her." Lucky, yes, I was, but I realized how much I had underestimated her influence. Clara wasn't just a caretaker. She was teaching Emma lessons I had never managed to teach, showing her resilience, strength, and self-belief. And watching them together, I felt a profound gratitude I couldn't ignore. Emma handed me a piece of bread. "Try this, Daddy." "Clara made it." I smiled, taking it. But it wasn't the bread that warmed me. It was the moment itself, the laughter, the guidance, the soft, careful words spoken over a simple lunch. I had spent so many nights in boardrooms, building my empire, that I had almost forgotten how powerful something like this could be. As the sunlight filtered through the kitchen, painting the room gold, I realized I had learned a lesson worth more than any deal or contract. Love isn't just about providing, it's about presence, understanding, and guidance. Clara had reminded me of that today, and in doing so, she had become something far more important than an employee. I promised myself I would never take her or her impact on my daughter for granted again. That I would be not just a provider, but a father who listens, teaches, and cherishes the small, unforgettable moments. For the first time, I saw what true love and guidance looked like, not in a boardroom or through a bank account, but right here, in my kitchen, over a simple lunch shared between my daughter and the person I had underestimated most. And in that moment, I knew life had just given me a second chance to be the father Emma deserved. I couldn't stop thinking about that lunch. Clara's words kept replaying in my mind, echoing louder than any boardroom speech or business victory I'd ever had. Emma had been smiling, laughing, thriving in a way that made me proud but also painfully aware of how much I had been missing. That evening, after putting Emma to bed, I found myself wandering into the living room. The city lights glimmered through the windows, but my mind wasn't on the skyline. It was on the quiet, gentle presence that Clara brought into our lives. I didn't mean to eavesdrop the next day, but curiosity and something deeper, something almost like fear, drew me toward the kitchen. I had wanted to see Emma, of course, but I also wanted to understand what Clara was really saying to her. I had always trusted her, but hearing her words so openly had shaken me. From the doorway, I watched as Clara knelt beside Emma, holding her hands in hers. "You're brave, Emma," Clara said softly. "And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You have a heart bigger than most people I know. And your daddy, he may not say it enough, but he loves you more than anything." Emma's giggle filled the room. "I love Daddy too, but Clara—" "You're nice too," Clara smiled gently, brushing Emma's hair back. "Thank you, sweet girl. I care about you like my own. And you'll see, the world can be scary, but you have the strength to face it, no matter what." I felt a sting in my chest. How had I underestimated the impact of someone like Clara? I had always been proud of my independence, my ability to provide everything Emma could ever need materially. But emotional guidance, words that built courage, that wasn't something money could buy. And Clara was giving it freely, effortlessly, with love. I stepped closer, trying not to startle them. But Clara's words hit me again, this time directly. "Your daddy may be busy with work, Emma, but he's proud of you. And he's learning too. Sometimes even parents need lessons in love." I froze, my heart hammered. She wasn't just talking to Emma, she was talking about me. And I realized, in that moment, how much I had been missing. I had been blind in my own way, so focused on providing and succeeding that I forgot the essence of fatherhood, presence, connection, guidance. Emma reached out for my hand, and I walked over, kneeling beside them. "Hey, Pumpkin," I said softly. "Did Clara tell you all that today?" "Yes," Emma exclaimed. "She said I'm strong and brave and Daddy loves me. And Clara says you're learning." Clara looked at me, calm, composed, but I could see the quiet strength in her gaze. "He's learning fast," she said softly. "And you're helping him too, Emma." I swallowed hard. The truth was undeniable. I had been blind in ways my daughter never was. I had given her a life of comfort, yes, but Clara had given her something far more precious: confidence, courage, and emotional strength. And then she said something that left me completely speechless. "You don't need to prove your love through gifts or fancy words. Just being here, truly being here, that's enough." And he's finally understanding that. My breath caught. Clara wasn't just talking to Emma. She was speaking to me, holding up a mirror I hadn't wanted to look into. I had spent so long measuring my worth in money, in business success, in societal approval, that I had almost forgotten the most important measure of all: being present, being emotionally available, being a father who truly sees his child. Emma reached out and hugged me tightly. "I love you, Daddy," she whispered. "I love you too, Pumpkin," I said, my voice catching. And then I added quietly, almost to myself, "I'm learning. I promise I'm learning." Clara smiled softly at us, and for the first time, I realized something profound. She wasn't just the maid. She wasn't just a caretaker. She was a teacher, a guide, a silent guardian who had been shaping my daughter in ways I had failed to. And in doing so, she had also begun shaping me. That night, as I tucked Emma into bed, I reflected on the day. Clara's influence was subtle but powerful. She didn't demand attention, didn't ask for recognition, yet her words had the power to change a life. She had done more than feed my daughter lunch. She had fed her spirit, nourished her confidence, and reminded me of the simple truths of fatherhood. I sat in the empty living room afterward, thinking. I had been proud of my achievements, my wealth, my control over the world I had built, but none of it mattered if I wasn't present for Emma. And Clara, she had reminded me of that in the quietest, most profound way. As the night deepened, I felt a strange mix of emotions: gratitude, awe, and a lingering guilt. Guilt for underestimating her, for taking her dedication for granted. But above all, gratitude for her presence, for her guidance, for showing me the kind of father I could be if I truly opened my heart. I finally understood. Love isn't measured by what you give materially. It's measured by the moments you share, the guidance you offer, and the unwavering presence you maintain in your child's life. And Clara had shown me that truth in the most extraordinary, ordinary way possible. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about how my life had shifted in just a few short hours. What I had seen over lunch, what I had heard, what I had felt. It was a lesson I would never forget. And deep down, I knew that tomorrow would be different. I would be there, not just physically, but emotionally. I would listen more, guide more, and cherish every moment with Emma. And maybe, just maybe, I would finally recognize Clara not just as an employee, but as someone who had profoundly touched our lives in ways I was only beginning to understand. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, unable to shake the feelings from the previous day. Clara's words, Emma's laughter, the way they had connected. It was all vivid in my mind. I felt a strange mixture of gratitude, awe, and a twinge of guilt. I had been so caught up in work, so absorbed in running a business empire, that I had almost forgotten the simplest, most powerful job I had, being a father. When I entered the kitchen, the scene unfolded exactly as it had the day before. Emma was sitting at the table, a plate of fruit in front of her, her small hands eagerly reaching for bites. Clara was kneeling beside her, speaking softly, her tone gentle, nurturing, yet filled with authority. "Emma, remember," Clara said, guiding a piece of fruit toward her. "You are capable of so much. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. You have your own strength, and your daddy loves you more than you know." I paused in the doorway, watching. I had thought I understood love, thought I knew how to care for my daughter. But Clara's calm, assured words were a reminder that love wasn't just about providing. It was about guidance, encouragement, and truly seeing the person you cared for. Emma giggled, grabbing the fruit. "I love Daddy," she exclaimed. I walked over, kneeling to her level. "I love you too, Pumpkin," I said, my voice catching slightly. "And I promise to always be here, really be here." Clara looked at me, her eyes meeting mine for a moment, calm, steady, almost knowing. "You already are," she said softly. And that's what matters. Her words struck me harder than I expected. She wasn't just supporting Emma, she was supporting me too, showing me what I had been missing. Every small word, every careful gesture had been shaping my daughter and teaching me lessons about love, patience, and presence that I could never have learned in a boardroom. As Emma laughed and played with her food, I realized something profound. I had been blind in my own way. I had measured success in wealth, power, and control. But Clara had been teaching my daughter lessons that mattered far more than money ever could. Courage, confidence, self-respect, and a reminder that she was loved unconditionally. I leaned back, letting myself feel every emotion. Awe, pride, gratitude, even a little humility. I had thought Clara was just my employee, just a caretaker. But the truth was, she had become an irreplaceable part of our lives. She had taught my daughter to be brave, and in doing so, she had shown me how to be a better father. Emma's laughter filled the kitchen as she reached for me again. "Daddy, feed me," she said, giggling. I smiled, picking up a piece of fruit and guiding it to her mouth. In that moment, I felt more connected to her than I ever had. More than my wealth, more than my office, more than anything else in the world. This was what mattered. Clara watched quietly, a gentle smile on her face. There was no pride in her expression, no expectation, just the calm, quiet satisfaction of someone who had helped shape something beautiful. And then Emma said something that made my heart swell. "Daddy, I'm happy, and I love Clara too." I nodded, my voice thick. "I'm happy too, Pumpkin, and I love you both." It hit me then. Clara wasn't just feeding my daughter lunch, she was feeding her soul, nurturing the parts of her that no wealth, no privilege, no luxury could ever reach. And through her, I had learned that true love wasn't measured in gifts or status, it was measured in presence, attention, and heartfelt words. That day, I made a promise, not just to Emma, but to Clara as well. I would never underestimate her again. I would never take her guidance for granted, and I would finally be the father Emma needed. Not just a provider, but a protector, teacher, and partner in her growth. From that day on, our lives changed in ways I couldn't have anticipated. I spent more time with Emma, listening, guiding, and sharing moments that I had previously ignored. And Clara, she remained our quiet hero, teaching, encouraging, and loving without expectation. One evening, as I watched Emma fall asleep, I whispered softly, "Thank you, Clara, for everything." She simply smiled, a faint blush on her cheeks, and said quietly, "It's nothing, sir. She's special, and you're finally seeing it." Tears stung my eyes. I had seen it now. All of it, the beauty, the strength, the love that Clara had brought into our lives. And in seeing it, I had become not just a better father, but a better man. Sometimes the people we least expect to change our lives end up teaching us the most important lessons. Clara was that person for us. And that day, I finally understood what it truly meant to love, guide, and be present. Emma stirred in her sleep, reaching for her blanket. I smiled, brushing her hair back gently. "We're all learning together, Pumpkin," I whispered. "All of us." And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace, knowing that my daughter was safe, loved, and growing stronger every day, guided not just by me, but by someone whose heart had quietly changed our lives forever.